Are you thinking of moving to the seacoast of New Hampshire? Here are 5 things that I wish I knew before I bought my house up in the seacoast. My name is Greg French from the Susan Sells team at Keller Williams Realty, and it is my goal to be your guide if you're thinking of making a move to the coast of New Hampshire or Massachusetts. The first thing I wish I knew when I moved up to the seacoast was how the people were going to be, and the people overall are very nice, and it's really easy to get involved in every different type of community. There's always a group of people doing something that you might enjoy in the seacoast, which is really nice. But overall, I will say, compared to your traditional nice, we're all definitely in much more of a hurry. And the best way I like to think about this is we'll hold the door for you, but if you take more than 5 seconds to get over there, we might be a little annoyed. And so that's kind of the way I like to think about it, is that we'll be perfectly nice and everybody's extremely welcoming up here in the seacoast. But overall, we are in a little bit of a hurry, and you can see that when we go out on the roads. The second thing I wish I knew about was how the weather was going to be. And the easiest way to describe the seacoast of New Hampshire weather is that you get really unpredictable, harsh, and sometimes icy winters. And then you get a summer that makes you forget about all that, which is really nice. And in between that, you get a fall that is really just your stereotypical New England fall with the changing of the foliage and everything like that. So overall, it gets cold in the winter. This year, we had a lot more snow than in the past. Sometimes we'd be getting a lot of ice in the winter, and so the winter can be a little bit of a miserable time if you're not used to cold weather. But in the summer, you forget all that. The weather's really nice. It's almost a perfect 70 degrees every day, and you can go to the beach or you can go on a hike, and you can really just get to enjoy all the nature that New Hampshire has to offer in the summer. The third thing I wish I knew was how was the rental market. And the rental market in New Hampshire is relatively average in terms of price. The national average for a rental is about $1,800 a month. In New Hampshire, in the Seacoast region, sits roughly $100 above that at $1,900 a month. But it has a very short supply, and there's a lot of newer apartment buildings that charge a lot more than $1,900 a month. You might find yourself in a $2,300 a month studio, especially if you're in the Portsmouth, New Hampshire area or the Dover, New Hampshire area, areas where there's a lot of newer apartment buildings that are able to drive up the rent with, their overall access to amenities and also just the luxury feel that they have. And because there are not that many rentals out there, the market isn't necessarily overly expensive when you compare it to the rest of the nation, but it definitely is a very high demand market, and you might find yourself looking at one of the newer complexes in order to get into the rental market. The fourth thing I wish I knew before moving to the seacoast of New Hampshire is that home prices have been on the rise for the last 5 years or so. The median home price in Rockingham County, which is the biggest county in terms of what we call the seacoast area, was about $609,000 last year, which is relatively expensive compared to the rest of the national real estate market. As a general rule of thumb, the towns that are closer to the water, like Rye and Portsmouth, are going to generally be a little bit more expensive, whereas if you go inland towards Barrington or even Dover, you're going to find you're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck when it comes to the home prices in New Hampshire. The final thing that I wish somebody told me before I moved to New Hampshire is just how close everything in nature is when you live on the seacoast of New Hampshire. I moved from just south in Massachusetts, where I knew that going to New Hampshire would get me access to skiing mountains and you would go to the beach in New Hampshire, but I never realized how nice it is to live up in the seacoast and be so close to all those different things. I mean, you can get to literally any body of water you could think of, the mountains, a field, any type of thing that you would want to do outdoors, you can do it in the seacoast of New Hampshire, and for the most part, those things are free and protected. So those are the 5 things that I wish somebody had told me before I moved to the seacoast of New Hampshire. If you're thinking of buying a house in the seacoast area, I would love to be your real estate agent and your guide, whether you're thinking of buying in the seacoast or the coast of Massachusetts. Please like this video and follow along for more information.